Hey, welcome back to the dungeon. This video has been a long time coming for me. So, every time I see a review of the Gaahleri Aventus, I get the same thing from all the reviewers, and uh, and that is that it's a good brush, but it can't stand up to the Infinity. So I don't get those same results. And these are people who know their stuff and people who I trust. So it has to be a defect in my brush because this is not a good airbrush. It's like the worst brush I have. I also have the old Infinity, and it was problematic for me as well. But that's a whole nother story. Now we're going to compare these two on several categories. First thing we're going to do is we're going to look at the packaging. Okay? Inside the sleeve, we get a nice, clean box, standard harder and Steenbeck box. Inside, it's it's nice. It's got some black and red, So yeah, it's nice. It has your little scratch tip, which I love. I do like the scratch tip. The small micro cup and the little tool, which we'll leave out. Okay, it's decent quality. And then we have the Gaahleri Aventus. And inside that sleeve we have a very nice aluminum box. Very, very premium. Now, of course, this is fancy with the numbered tag because it is the tailor made. You can't get it in a lesser packaging. It comes with your extras for the different sizes. Comes with a nice moisture trap, which I don't use because I have one on my bench here. Okay. Now, where Harder and Steenbeck does come with that tool to take it apart, the Aventus Gaahleri sent everybody who purchased it, if they chose that option, this kit with the extra needles and all the stuff that comes in that, and we've run through that, what that is. And none of these parts had to be put onto my airbrush because mine had already had the upgrades done. So while there's nothing wrong with H&S's packaging, I gotta give it to the Aventus. Not even close. Okay. Aesthetics. The look and feel, fit and finish. Okay. Now, the anodizing on this is silky smooth. So I love the look of the hole, plus it's
convenient. So overall, and the fact that you can get it engraved, personalized, pick the color scheme you want, as opposed to the Infinity, which is what it is. It's not an ugly brush, but I think it was an improvement by stretching out that nut and making the cutaway bigger. But the finish I don't like. I much prefer the old anodizing instead of this shiny, like, colored chrome look. And the trigger felt much better before. I don't like the trigger, but as far as aesthetics, the old trigger was better. Now the new anodizing on the handle looks like that of the cheap Neo Eco, that shiny finish. So not really a fan of that.
Of course, opinions will vary on this, but I have to give it to the Aventus. Now we move on to build quality.
I always emphasize not to use tools to put these things together. But one thing that Gaahleri, at least this brush, and Harder and Steenbeck have in common is that when you take this off, see that? See how that's turning? It tends to turn. That's why you have this tool. It's not to get it apart, it's to keep it snug while you take the handle off and on. Now, last time I had it apart, I didn't snug it up because the tool was in the box and I didn't get it out. But that's what that's for. You don't have to wrench down on it and make it really tight. But it's the same with the Aventus. If this is not tight, then when you take the handle off, it pulls it apart. So you get this wrench to snug it up. And that's all you need it for, is snug it up just a little snug, and then to break it again. Same with this. So in that respect, they're the same. Okay? Now, build quality, that's all solid. Nothing like, there's no play in anything. The threads are all solid. The nut is tapered in the back, which makes it particularly easy to get your needle in and out, or in anyway. Now, as we pull this apart, now, one thing about this this here is, for one, that feels really stiff, doesn't have much movement. It's like, it feels like mushy at the bottom, like you have to push it into the thing. And then if you have the nut on here, when you take it apart, then it will stay together. And I like to do that when I'm taking this out to get into here. Same with that. But the problem is they've taken the lever off, which I actually prefer a separate lever. But see, this keeps it intact, keeps the spring in place. But when you put this back, if you have it like this, it tends to not seat in there properly. And then when you go to tighten your thing down, now this time it landed, but all too often, it will not. And it'll be in here funky to where it will not tighten. Now it's not doing it now because I'm showing you. But I'll put it together and I'll crank this and it'll get snugged up, but then it'll keep turning if I want to pull it. And it'll be pretty tight, but you'd still be able to turn it if you force it. And if you pull on the needle, it still comes out. So it doesn't always lock the way it's supposed to. Okay. So that's one issue. So inside you have your chucking guide, which they call that because this is the chuck. This is what squeezes the needle and locks it in place. Okay, your housing, this is your adjustment for your spring tension. Okay, and your trigger. Okay, trigger is just a ball end. Now, I don't know why that valve is squishy like that, why it feels so clunky. This one, that's good movement. It's like butter. Everything moves perfectly every time. Okay. And again, I like to keep needle first, but I like to keep everything intact so that way it all stays together. And I never have any such issues when I want to put this back together in one piece. But we're going to take it all the way apart. Okay, same thing. Got your spring inside the housing, got your chucking guide. Now the lever is attached on this one. Okay. And the trigger, very similar. It's got a ball. It's got a window for your packing screw, which is a plus. You can see what's going on in there. And which brings us to front end.
Yeah, there's not really much to say about the nozzles. They're similar, but yet have their own particular design. But build quality wise, they're both excellent. In fact, the entire brushes, both of these brushes are built very well. If it wasn't for the issues I had with the packing screw not being intact and the binding that I'm getting in the trigger where I can't tighten it up every time, they're little things, but if it wasn't for those, then it'd be up for grabs. But the way it is, I'm gonna have to go for the Aventus again for build quality. I'm going to load up the both airbrushes with Illustration Black straight from the bottle. Okay. Attach my air and try to get some fine lines out of this Infinity. Just stopped. Okay, now it's trying to make a line. It keeps abruptly stopping. Okay. Now that's thin. And that's probably about the best line I've ever gotten out of this. But will it last? See, now nothing's coming out. So nothing's coming out, and then all of a sudden it just spits. There's just no consistency. Okay, now we're switching over to the Aventus. All right. I have to pull back a little farther than I'd like, but it's consistent, and the fine lines are pretty flawless. I had a little skip there, but that was me letting my finger off. And yeah, it's pretty good. I mean, I'm getting a little spider in, but I am at 25 psi, so let me turn that down. I knocked it down to 20 psi. And see how that handles. Okay, yeah, that's much better. Okay, yeah, at 20 psi, I'm sure I'm not going to get as thin lines as I could get if I reduce. So that's what end up happening here. Okay, swapping back to the Infinity. Okay, yes. With this reduction, it should spray better, but it's hesitating, and yeah, look at it spitting and sputtering, and I'm having a hard time getting a line. You see how far I have to pull it back? Yeah, it's just not cooperating. So I'm going to use some 4011 and reduce this probably by about half. Yeah, so even with that reduction, it doesn't seem to want to handle low pressure. So it's spitting and sputtering, and so we're going to have to turn that back up to 25 psi. And yeah, it still doesn't want to do what I want it to do. Yeah, it's a little better, but still getting hesitation. Trying to build that pinpoint accuracy, and I gotta keep yanking back on it, and then it comes back up abrupt. All right, now let's move back to the Aventus, and we're gonna reduce it the way we did with the Infinity. Oh yeah, yeah, that's much better trigger response. Okay, try to get a little tight area in this corner here. Yeah, it'll do it, but it seems like it really wants to let go. Just trying to pinpoint that little spot in between these two lines. And it wants to go all of a sudden, so I'm gonna have to turn the pressure down. We're still really high. Okay, we're back down to 20. That's definitely better. Still pulling the trigger back more than I'd like to, but it's consistent. Now we're gonna way over reduce it. Let's see what we get. Okay, now I got quite a bit more reducer than paint. So okay. Now was it over reduce? See, I can, okay, that's shown, but I can get lines thin enough to hide behind these thin lines. When I come off the line, you can barely see. These lines are pretty fine. Switching back to the Infinity, have this way over reduced as well. Okay, it's getting a lot of hesitation.
Yeah, this is not doing anything here. Look how far I'm pulling back. It just clogs and it's spray. It's like now. What you're told is that this thing is great for performing at low pressures, right? With highly over-reduced paint. Now, I got highly over-reduced paint. I had to turn it up to 25 psi just to get it to spray. Okay, and it's not terrible, but it's not that. It's nowhere near what the Aventus is doing. Okay, now, what happens if I go down to 10 psi?
It's just not controllable. It's not consistent at all. I'm going to throw more reducer in there. At this point, it's mostly reducer.
Okay, and I'm going to turn it back up. Okay, now it's at 20. .25 psi. Okay, yeah, I'm not getting any control out of this. Say it like that. There's no telling when it's going to start spraying. You cannot rely on it to spray when you want at all. Okay. Now I'm bringing the Aventus down to 10 psi. Okay. That is just pinpoint exactly what you want. Now I'm going to way over reduce it like I did in the Infinity. 10 psi. Yeah.
Yeah, it just seems that no matter what I throw at it, it delivers. Okay, so let's check the gradient, see what kind of atomization we get out of this. So that's the Aventus. And the Infinity. Oh no, that's all grainy. Look at that. Not even comparable. Right up here. Turn the air up a little bit. A little better, but still grainy in comparison. So for response, it's Aventus. Detail, Aventus. For consistency, again, Aventus. And if we wanted to add customer service, Gaahleri blows H&S out of the water. Believe me, I really wanted the Infinity to hold its own. I paid a lot of money for that brush, but it just doesn't. So if you could, like, share, and subscribe, it would really help me out. And remember, my reviews will always be honest. I have no brand loyalty. So there you have it. And thanks for watching. Bye.